Okay, in this video we're going to learn how to solve a variant of the type 1 equation or the type x squared equals c equations. On the right you see the type x squared equals c, or as I've referred to it in previous videos, type 1 equation. There's an x squared, but there is no x term. The way that we solve this is that we isolate the x squared on the left. We get everything, all the numbers on the right. So in other words, in this case, it's a minus 3 both sides. We then multiply by a third, and then we're able to take the square root. If we look at the equation on the left-hand side, and this is this, I guess we'll call it type 1b, and this will become type 1a, and this is then type 1b. They look quite similar. There's multiplication of a third, there's adding the 3, and they're both equal to 15, except before squaring the x, here we're subtracting 2. But when we see an equation like this, we're able to basically solve it in the same way that we solve this equation. And we do that by introducing a new variable, by saying, I'm going to say that p is equal to x minus 2, and I'm going to replace the x minus 2 with this p. So this will give me 1/3, then p squared plus 3 is equal to 15. I'm then going to subtract by 3 on both sides. So really what I'm doing now is solving this equation here that we have. And that's going to be 1/3 p squared is equal to 12. I'm multiplying by 3, and that will give me p squared is equal to 36. And then I've got p is equal to 6, or p is equal to minus 6. And now we do what's called undo our substitution. Yeah, we know what p is, but we want to know what x is, and we said that p is equal to x minus 2. So now I can say again that x minus 2, this p, here replacing the p with x minus 2, is equal to 6, or the x minus 2 is equal to minus 6. And then we get adding 2 to both sides. X is equal to 8, or x is equal to minus 4. So really, yeah, some people like to really work with the p and then solve for p and then do all of this. Another way to look at it is really that you're just solving for x minus 2. So another way, I'll just do this here. Another way, and you'll see that it's really the same thing. Another way is to just say, okay, I recognize this as a type 1b. I'm not going to multiply out the brackets and get something very complicated. What I'm going to do is try and isolate not the x on the left side in the first instance, but the x minus 2. Yeah. So I'll start with adding or subtracting 3 from both sides, and I'll get 1/3 x minus 2 squared. I've got the 3 gone on the left, and that's going to be equal to 12. I'm trying to isolate the x minus 2 squared on the left side, yeah? So now I'm multiplying by 3 on both sides. That will get rid of the 1/3 on the left, leaving x minus 2 squared on the left, and of course 36 on the right. And now I'm going to take the square root of both sides, making then sure that indeed I see that that gives two possibilities. I've got x minus 2 is equal to 6, or the x minus 2 is equal to minus 6. And that gives, of course, the same result. We've got 8, or x is equal to minus 4. And notice that you're doing the same thing, except in this example, you're temporarily replacing the x minus 2 with a p, and then undoing that replacement to find out what x is. Here, you're just doing that really implicitly or in your mind, and as a last step, you're still undoing the x minus 2, adding the 2 to both sides. So the important thing is, of course, is to be able to recognize that you have to do this. So how do you recognize it? Well, the normal type 1 you recognize by there's an x squared term but no x term. And here, yeah, there's an x in brackets plus or minus some number. And that all of that's squared. And then there's no other x anywhere else in the equation. So in other words, this would not work if this was equal to, for example, 15x. Then this approach would simply not work. Then we would have to multiply out the equation and see by getting the 15x to the left side if we could factor it. And be a lot more difficult if this was a 15x. So, but if it's in this form, then you can use that kind of same approach as type 1. So just kind of taking a look at our types of equations. Yeah, I got type 1, I've called it now type 1a, which we recognize as this. There's an example indeed. I've got type 2 is where both terms or all the terms have at least one x term that you can then factor out and set equal to 0. But now I've introduced a type 1b, which looks a lot like this type 1, except that you're subtracting or adding something from the x before you're squaring it. These are examples of this type and also an example of how to find the solution. Type 3 we already know. So that is how to solve these types of equations.